evening, everybody, and welcome to the Metal Lab. I am rolling a little solo today. Mike is out with some work stuff and probably will be a little busy for the next couple weeks. Tom, also busy with some work stuff, and Jay is out sick, and also there's a Jewish holiday, so he will not be available with us. So it leaves just myself, and I'm okay with that. Honestly, I kind of wanted to make this one a quick and dirty. There's not a great deal going on right now, but there is still the topic that we wanted to discuss earlier last week, which we discussed, which was the Rock Constructed Trios event, which they're running in at Rocktober. So we're going to go over a couple things about that, mostly high-level considerations that we need to think about. My week is here, and HeroClix was spent at Dolly's over on Sunday. In spite of having a very busy Magic the Gathering pre-release weekend, we managed to squeeze ourselves into a couple casual turns of HeroClix. I did some really wacky stuff with Bastions. That's right, I said that in plural, Bastions. Just call me the Master Mold, ladies and gentlemen. I'm finding ways to make Sentinels. It was a lot of fun. I got a chance to play with Alexis, who went on a murdering spree against my Sentinels. I'm responsible for letting a lot of Sentinels die in a lot of games this week. Let's just leave that there. I feel like they're made of paper. No, I'm just kidding. But that aside, great time. Good to see some new players out, and hope to see some more out of some of our newer players in the events over at Dolly's. Once again, thanks to Will for allowing us to run our HeroClix over there. We look forward to a great future in that store. That said, like I said, we got a lot to talk about in regards to this trios format. But, I'm kind of rolling solo, so I'm going to say it out loud. If you guys are live and watching, in the chat, put in capital letters question before your question so I can catch you in there if you guys start using the chat to actually discuss things. That aside, so one of the big things I wanted to talk about is, I think I said it a few times now, this trios format and the differences in what you're going to have to deal with as far as playing in it. So one of the things that's really big about the format itself is that give me a second. I'm just trying to pull it up actually on the other screen because I forgot to do that particular part. Where is the Rock World Cup? Oh, I can never find this on this page. I'm the worst. Events. Maybe it's events? No, it's not that. That was not the page I wanted. Judge program, host of rock, maps, news, paper, rock cup. Duh. Alright. I think we got this up. Bingo. Okay. Sorry about grabbing my mic, palming my mic there. I've got it in the way of my short monitor, which is over here, because I moved my mic the other day and put it in the wrong place. Okay, so long and short of it, with Rocktober, which is happening between October 24th and 27th, the end of this month. So it's a good time to talk about, we got brand new formats coming out of us at every which direction. Not such a bad thing, but there's a lot to take in as far as these formats are concerned. Now, the Team Championship, that's a welcome event. Singles, Nationals. Okay. We just need the rules for it. I found this before, and I keep losing track of it. Anyway, you'll be in teams of 3, and you will have no shared elements between teams. So give me a second. My mic got out of sync with my voice there. Or my video got out of sync with everything. So. Oh, man. I lose this every time. And somebody always shows it to me. And I'm the worst at being prepared, apparently. Rock rules? Singles Nationals. This is Saturday. Friday. Let's look at Friday. This is there. Friday. WWE 2x2. Oh, here it is. Okay. Team National Championship. $75 for 3 players. 300. Let me just pull this up. There we go. So 300 points, Modern Age Extreme Highlander. Only one element is allowed per team. This means if one player has an Xavier School Wolverine on his forest, that he can only play that one, and that his or her teammates may not play that same figure. This applies to all game elements. There can be only one, and elements with the same name may be played as long as they are not the same figure. Multiple elements of different point values cannot be played. So, for instance, if I play Wolverine at 150, my buddy can't play Wolverine at 50. I can use one Wolverine, my opponent, my buddy on B team cannot. But all is not lost in a format like this. There are things you can do to kind of mitigate, work around it, and just change the thought process. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. Originally, like I said, we're going to have the class. But one of the big... Okay, so when it comes down to it, onboard elements, I think, is the easiest thing to manage. You can figure out who wants to play what team and work around that. That's usually pretty easy to determine. Like, 3 people don't all need to be playing the same team. Everybody can come up with different elements. Now, certain things you will have to realize is that because it's an Extreme Highlander event, if you're focused on playing a team with like 6 of the same thing, you got to get your head out of that. I had that trouble the other day on Into the Mind of Madness, talking about the Pauper format. I completely forgot that was a Highlander event. That said, to get around this, there are ways you can repeat elements and still get similar functionality out of it. You know what I mean? So I kind of... One of the big challenges will, of course, be, in my opinion, the ID cards. Equipment, for the most part, is generally kind of like, I know what character is going to use this particular piece of equipment, and because I'm using that character, I will get that piece of equipment. It's generally easy enough to figure out. Don't expect to have 3 Kobik teams, generally the case here, and that is what it is. But if one person is playing like a Kobik, Nick Fury sort of build, you have to kind of look to another direction, possibly a monster team, possibly whatever kind of iteration of another build you get. And then things get really wacky when including the A, B, C, because unlike the Seal, there may be some sub-metagame to this particular element. But I could try to figure out the mathematics and the quadrant theory of the entire thing. But traditionally, it won't matter. But you will find yourselves, on the odd chance that, let's say, every single combination of 3 had a Kobik team, your team plays bad against a Kobik team, and then suddenly everybody puts their B team as a Kobik team, you're going to have a bad day. Sorry. You couldn't plan for that ahead of time, unless you somehow went around to every single team and said, are you putting your Kobiks in the Bs? Don't do that. That will do you no good. So do yourself a favor. Don't think about that element too much. So next we go into what elements are we going to run into that we now have to share and think in a broader sense. And I believe the biggest thing that's going to have the biggest challenge in this particular team format is going to be ID cards. But all is not lost. I kind of compiled a list of ID cards that you can spread out across things. And then as we go through them, we can start talking about alternative elements that you can use with each one. We'll kind of do that as we go. So we'll switch back to the HC Realms there and see where we are. All right, so what I've compiled here is the list just off the top of my head. There may be more, but I think this is a pretty comprehensive list of ID cards that you have more than one option of. Cyclops, Wolverine, Storm, Jean Grey, Iceman, Beast, Magneto, Colossus. Some of them are wanted posters, some of them are not. Couple things worth noting. Some of these ID cards do have alternate names that you can make effective use of. I'm just going to double check one thing because there's one thing I just thought of right now, but it could end up being completely wrong, and I don't want to misinform people any more than I already have in my life. So that's not updated yet. All right, cool. So we have to go back to the forums. They're in the midst of updating the X-Men animated series stuff, but it hasn't been fully updated just yet. So I'm just kind of using the character list. Jeez Louise, this webcam. Turn it off and on again, the IT way. So what I'm looking for is one particular character, just because there ends up, if this character is usable, you actually get a three-way spread that some may or may not be thinking of as an alternative with this particular thing. And it does work. Okay, cool. Awesome. Because I believe, if I read that right... Okay, sorry about that. Let's get back to this whole thing. So we're going to start with Cyclops. Because he's the obvious and easy one, and he's going to be the biggest fight with all teams. So we have the Cyclops ID card itself, the Headmaster ID, and we have the Cyclops Standard ID. But of course, the fight will be for the Cyclops Super Rare, right? That's what everybody wants to use. Come on. I clicked on the wrong thing. So we all want to fight over this one, and that's fine. One person's going to be able to get this one. I think we can all be reasonable human beings. Beyond that, let's not poo-poo the common Cyclops or even the uncommon Cyclops, who actually is a stealth buster. Worth noting. There's also the Chase Cyclops, and also worth considerations is the Regenesis one. He's a little bit harder to kill because he's got a stop click and he's got the energy shield. It doesn't come with anything. Yeah, everybody. I kind of said at the beginning of the show, Chell. Everybody's kind of out for the week. It's just me today. So, all right, so Cyclops, you get lots of options with which to use. 2 ID cards, perfectly fine. Wolverine, same kind of idea. Because of Regenesis, I think Wolverine's bets are a little safe. The only problem with Wolverine is that if you're looking to build 50, one of your versions is going to have to give up on Flurry, and you just used a common from X-Men animated series, which is also a really good figure and very multi-dimensional in its own right, where, you know, if you feel like your team might have a problem with a shape change, a 12 attack charge Wolverine with, you know, Blades, Claws, Fangs may come in handy in a pinch. But of course, like we said, there's a Regenesis one, because Regenesis. That one also has stop clicks. It's not going to get, the healing isn't going to be a matter of a fact, not a big deal. But again, stop click, high attack, reasonable expectation to hit. This one's on the higher end of the point value though, so, you know, as a consideration, be aware of that. What am I looking at here? Oh, this is of course there's the month 1 prize Wolverine. Not bad. Yeah, there's the other prize Wolverine, 75 points, reasonably fat dial with the stop clicks. So again, all these stop clicks are really the things that can go a long way. This one's 75 points, higher than the Regenesis one. Also a fair risk in using. But, you know, take all these into consideration when you're splitting it across a team of 3 for this Rock Team event. Next we have the Storm. Now Storm, this one's a little bit more tricky because, yeah, there is 2 ID cards. The fight will be for the Prime. But we also have, of course, the Asgardian Storm. That, excuse my dyslexia there. The Asgardian Storm, who had made it here, yep. 85 points, a little higher on the point value. So do pay attention to who's going to be able to actually call this in, while the Prime Storm is going to be 25 points. You know, you could split the 2 really good storms. Plus, there's also the Power Cosmic Storm. Cannot forget about that one. I believe it's this one here. Nope, this is the 75 points with 12 attack and 9 movement with running shot. Why not, right? But the one I was talking about was this one. Also playable 150 points with running shot, pulse wave. If one of you guys has a Unimind, consider this. Next is Jean Grey. Jean Grey got one big bump, and this is an important big bump, is that in X-Men Animated, they blessed us with another Chase Jean Grey. And this Chase Jean Grey is actually named Jean Grey. So both Chase Jean Greys are really, really potent. And if you can find a way to make use of this one as a call-in, that you can running or like half move attack, then attack again, then use your sidestep to get out, I think that's a reasonable call. So if one of you guys has a team, one of your teammates has a team with mind control, consider giving this Jean Grey to that one. and put it on the student ID card. The reason I say put it on the student ID card is whoever's going to get the Headmaster ID card with Jean Grey is actually going to get an alternative option in Phoenix, because the Rachel Summers, the blue flamed Phoenix Colossal from X-Men, is named Phoenix and therefore going to be usable on the Jean Grey ID card. So and of course, barring all of that, if you don't want to go in that direction, I do believe the Rachel Summers ID card, we'll just check that out right now, may or may not have an alternate name. Other identities: Hound, Marvel Girl, Phoenix. So you can actually call in this Phoenix as well with the Rachel Summers if you want to spread that across 3 different teams as you choose. And a 175-point call-in with Running Shot is not a bad idea if you have some kind of one of your players popping out of Tentpole. Iceman, we know we have the Regenesis version of Iceman, we have the new Colossal version of Iceman, and we have the Chase Iceman. I do believe, of course, that the Chase Iceman is best on a high point sort of Tentpole focused team. But that said, yeah, take a look into this. Anyway, carrying on. So the Beast student ID card. Beast is a little bit of a harder guess because we only just got a really functionally super awesome Beast. But a lot of the Beasts that do exist do kind of the same thing with just less damage and less stats. You can call one in at 75 points from the Fast Forces, a 60-point common one, the uncommon one at 50 points. There's a lot of ways you can just kind of spread out this idea. There's the Magneto ID card, and we just got swarmed with Magnetos. So, there we go, right there. Yeah, so we got the Colossal, the 2x2 based Magneto usable as a Colossal Retaliation, and what else? We have the new Danger Room one if you're looking to kind of replace a Professor X's functionality or somebody else is using a Professor X. The thing you got to be aware of too is when you're going across these 3 teams is primes, because as we get to this last one, Colossus, there's 2 sources of Colossus ID cards, but only one of them is a prime. One of you is going to be using it, but one of you might also be isn't going to be using either of those, right? So is there Colossus really worth we're using? Maybe not so much. So in the case of Colossus, you're probably more likely to just put it on one team, and it'll probably be the one using the prime. Anyway, so as far as spreading out these elements, you look at this and you think, okay, so all of the answers that I had in this case can be spread a little further. And as well, like in the general scheme of things, this also brings to light the fact that we are less limited in our ID card choices now than we ever have been once X-Men Animated really gets included in the fold, because in a lot of these cases I'm mentioning brand new figures that we haven't really had a chance to break into, because X-Men, for those of our friends down south, only came out this past Wednesday and is only legal come this Wednesday. So it's not quite legal yet, so we haven't really had a chance to dig in. So this kind of ended up being a 2-part because of the constructed Highlander format that we have here. This team national championship thing. Because I remember reading this right. For more extreme, one element is allowed. Means only one, two, blah 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 blah. Can be played. Yeah. So cool thing to think about. And it's really the last new thing that we had to think about, while also kind of bringing to light the fact that the ID cards really opened up with X-Men. Like, I knew X-Men Animated would bring a lot of new options to ID cards, but it got a lot more open than I had anticipated. My anticipation, I didn't count on the Storm Colossal just being named Storm, which opened up a book of things you can do with both a wanted poster and an ID card. So, yeah, overall, this team's format is interesting, so long as you have 3 different players capable and willing to play 3 different teams, possibly 3 different formats. And as far as a prediction on a constructed team event, I think what we're looking forward to here is more diversity in the fact that some teams may consist of two safe teams when risky team, or we might just see a difference in a whole bunch of things. So it's hard to predict right now, but that said, there's going to be one interesting team at minimum on each. And when I say interesting, I'm talking like, oh my gosh, what a wacky idea. I do love seeing that sort of thing. Really wish I could show up for this event. Unfortunately, it doesn't fall into the able to go on a Saturday, Sunday sort of situation, kind of squeak out of that. Them's the breaks. So once again, Rock team constructed. Looks cool. Love the idea. We'll see how it goes, and good luck to everybody who's going to be in that. Let me know how it goes. I want to hear reports from the field of all kinds of craziness coming out of that. All right. I don't have anybody to share the ideas off. This stuff just kind of bangs out of me pretty quickly. Okay, so we talked about that. Popper format, we've talked about a little bit last week. I've been talking about Into the Mind of Madness, so keep your eyes on that. I know I've been keeping on top of that as best I could, and I apologize for my little brief, and when I say brief, I mean I probably spent a lot of time forgetting that the Popper format was Highlander. So I apologize to anybody who watched that episode. My bad. Just in general, when you look forward to October, this particular team thing is going to require a lot more planning than any other kind of event that you think of. Because as a singles player, you can show up the day of with a team, play it, practiced or unpracticed, and you're only going to affect yourself. Oh my gosh. My camera is killing me today. And so, complete brain fart. So when you go into this, you can't just show up with a team, because you might end up, and you can't be stubborn about it either, because you're going to show up and then somebody on the team is going to be like, well, no, I'm using that. And another guy's like, well, no, but I'm using that. And then there's dissension among the ranks. This is a hard one to just kind of pop in and expect yourself to kind of jump in doing whatever the heck you want. You can't. You need more pre-planning. So get your team together for this particular rock event and brace yourself for what's going down on that. I had planned a little bit more on this particular event. Maybe if I can get the team back for another episode, we will see about kind of coming up with our own what would we do situation and go with that. I'll talk to the guys. That H for HeroClix points out that it is super important to organize team members and teams ahead of time. Yeah. It's the most important element in this particular thing, because don't be the stubborn guy. Got to be flexible on this one. You got to rethink. You got to understand, and you can't just kind of stamp your foot and say, "I am playing this team that won Worlds." You can't be that guy. It's not gonna work, and you're not gonna make friends. It does work, because this one, the biggest team element of it is the team building. We're in Team Sealed to a certain degree. You can come up with 3 teams with your limited resources, and everybody understands your limited resources. This is wide open resources, but you're still limited in how many of those wide open resources you're allowed to use. So brace yourself for that and be friendly with each other. Communication is going to be key in this one ahead of time. All right. So yeah, that's about it for today. It goes quick when I don't have people to bounce off of. We don't have other stories for the HeroClix this week. But I'm wide open to questions. A couple have started popping up on the forums. If you're watching live and you're in the patron Discord, please jump in there. You want to get in on the patron Discord? Join us at patreon.com/marriedwithclicks and get in on some of the action there. It's October's approaching, and our next patron hangout is going to be October 13th, not the 6th, which it normally would be, because Hell in the Cell, pro wrestling is important in my life. So And, you know, pro wrestling, WWE clicks are around the corner, and I cannot wait to spend a lot more time team building and talking about those. I believe the rumors thread has those, but I want them in hand to do things with it. Though it looks like I might be getting an empty package. I'm not sure. I love how Dial H has also pointed out that he hasn't lined up his team yet for his teams, which is why I think I'm going to try to go with the exercise. Even if I can't get the rest of the team over, I want to kind of see if I can't come up with like an idea of how it would organize 3 different teams for this kind of event, hopefully alongside the other guys. All right. So that said, I'm going to open up to the questions. We're going to start in the Facebook on the Married with Clicks community group. If you want to join us on there, just join on Facebook. Look up the Married with Clicks community group. I'm pretty easy going as far as, I know I say you have to request entry. I'm really just bot checking. So I'm just going to take a peek at you. Like, there's a lot of information that comes just on the request as it is. Groups in common, that kind of thing. Is pretty easy to identify who isn't a bot, so that we're not getting our advertisements for sunglasses in our Married with Clicks community group. But in there, the first question, a lot of questions actually from Mr. David Creighton. I hope I'm saying that right, because anyway, which errata for the rare Proteus would you recommend? For those of you unfamiliar, the rare Proteus, the green Proteus, he has an ability whenever a character takes a costed action within range of Proteus. After actions resolve, he can place a piece of blocking, hindering, or water terrain within 3 squares of that character. So the idea has come up that if you use more than one, you're going to get multiple triggers. And so like 3 to 6 of them is going to make it darn near impossible to get by, say, a stack of Stara fights. That's going to be bad news. So there's been a call to errata. Personally, I got to see it in action to make sure. That said, if I was to errata, just once for every character with this trait. That's all you need to say. That usually covers and solves the this kind of fluctuation in the thought process. His next question is, The Fiend, awesome or super awesome? Super awesome. The Fiend is in pro wrestling. Those of you unfamiliar, he's a brand new character who's like a psycho killer who also kind of has a child. It's the wackiest, most surreal thing I've ever seen in my life, and I love it. But yeah, and would he be a switch clicks for hero clicks or shifting focus? I think he would be a wild dial. And I think that you'd have the Firefly Funhouse dial and the Fiend dial, and the Firefly Funhouse dial would have abilities that more control, immobilize, slow down, negatively affect your opponent, whereas the Fiend is just outright offensive and just beats the crap out of things. You know, it's your charge, breakneck speed type of dead. Or you might even go the way they did with Typhoid Mary back in Deadpool and actually switch clicks the dial on it, which it could work. But I'd probably go wild dial on it if it was me making the figure. Or I would just make the Fiend and not worry about Firefly, because Firefly Funhouse, Bray doesn't really do anything other than the promos. So Bray Wyatt in red sweater with puppets might actually be its own figure that does the immobilization stuff, and kind of it becomes a separate entity and 2 different figures, not even shifting focus. They just kind of work together in conjunction. Those are the 2 ways I'd possibly do it. All right. Next, isn't the Trios format sealed? Not the one that I was talking about in the Rock format. That one, if you check the Rock Cup link, is actually just an Extreme Highlander constructed thing, which I think is pretty good. It is constructed, right? I'm not crazy. And if it's Extreme Highlander in sealed, they have broken every common sense rule about sealed. Because sealed has limited resources already. You can't really force an Extreme Highlander format on that particular type of trios. So, Team National, cost 75, format 300 Modern Age, yeah. So, it's definitely constructed. Here's a link to IDs and Popper. Wanted posters don't seem to... Yeah, well, I wasn't talking about one. Just try to keep up here. The wanted posters I was talking about is in reference to a wide open, allowed modern age Extreme Highlander trios format. Highlander is not Pauper. Pauper is not Highlander. Pauper Highlander is the thing. It's the use of the Highlander world rule is getting insane. Long and short of it is what I was referring to is a format that is allowing all figures. Next on the Mary Lou Clicks page, let's see if there's anything else while we're there. Nope. Just refreshing to make sure it didn't get me. So George Himes, which Colossal from the X-Men set do you look forward to playing in casual and in meta? Okay, so I did that thing where I went to a casual tournament with a figure that was like, there's no way this guy is competitive, right? And I feel like I might be wrong. And that is the Colossal Bastion. And the normal size Bastion, for that matter. I think both are really good. A lot better than I gave them credit for. But a lot of our initial talking about it have been with Sealed in mind. This is a constructed figure. This is a constructed figure for a big reason. I have purchased, or I've got my hands on, or purchased, or traded for, or in Battle Royales picked over Super Rares, 11 of the Colossal Uncommon Sentinels. And I plan on getting more if I can get my hands on them. Because Leadership Sentinel, I can get along with that. So, both Bastions I think are very cool and capable of making them. This is a Jason thing, okay? So anybody's like, that's a terrible team, that's your problem. This is a Jason problem. It was funny, I was talking to Amber the other day, and I was thinking of making a t-shirt that says, Jason's teams are not advice. Yeah, we're gonna have to wake up Green Day tomorrow because September ends. Okay, so things got serious in our chat for a second. Another question came out. Just give me a second. Nope, doesn't look like it. Okay, so that's about it for questions. Anything in the chat? No. All right. Short episode of Metal Lab, guys. Sorry we didn't have the usual rambling thing. I didn't have the other guys that join me. Next week I will try throughout the week to gather the troops and come up with a team, a series of teams for a trios event. If we were to do this trios event ourselves, just to see what we come up with or what kind of nonsense can end up occurring. And we'll discuss that next week. In the meantime, I want to take a second to thank our patrons over patreon.com/marriedwithclicks. You guys are great, helping support us and keeping everything going on the channel in spite of, us trying our best to apparently not do the best we can on the channel. We are planning to film some more games coming up soon, and hopefully with courtesy of the patrons' help, we can get out some nice quality content to you guys. In addition, I want to take a second to thank our long-time sponsors over at MajesticCCG.com. Join the Apex Insiders for $3 a month. You get access to some of the great big brains in the game of HeroClix. And, it's always good if you're looking to become a competitive player to kind of hear what the really good players are thinking and check out their thought process and hear what they're saying when it comes to the game, because it will go a long way towards helping improve your game when you understand what great players are doing, and then you can adjust it to your own sort of direction. So, MajesticCCG.com, check them out. Patreon.com/MarriedWithClicks if you want to support us. Check that out. And if you're looking to get into this team constructed event at the Rock Cup this at the end of October, you're going to want to gather your troops and start coming up with some ideas and start getting some practice with these teams, because practice will make your teams better. Have a good night, everybody.